27-year-old Brandon Lee was killed during a movie set accident today.
Some call it an unfortunate accident, bad luck, and safety issues. But there are people who believe that the production of this movie was cursed from the start. The Crow is a comic book series by James O'Barr, first published in 1989. It's about a man who comes back to life to hunt a gang that killed him and his fiancée. It's a dark, gothic story, but popular enough to get a green light for a movie in the early 90s. Directed by Alex Proyas and starring Brandon Lee, son of Bruce Lee, as the main character, the production commenced in early 1993. The issues started on day one. When working on a film set at Corolco Studios, a carpenter, Jim Martisius, was badly burned on over 40% of his body, including his face, chest, and arms.
And
How much of your body was burned?
I'm a 50% full thickness.
Full thickness, what's that mean?
Full thickness means burn skin, muscle, and skin, fat, and muscle.
He was on a crane when live power lines hit it. After the incident, Martisius sued the studio, and it turned out that the company had been warned before about the dangerous electrical cables. And in the end, James Martisius won $2.5 million. Then the curse struck again, this time with a natural disaster. In 1993, the Gulf of Mexico was hit by what was called the storm of the century.
We're talking about is the second watch box right here that goes all the way down to Key West. That is in effect until 7 a.m. this morning.
And the devastating cyclone hit the Crow sets on March 13th. The production went on a break, people got ill, and machines were wet and frozen. It was a disaster. And the only one who was trying to, lift the crew's spirits was Brandon Lee. Unfortunately, not for long.
We were shooting during the blizzard of '93. We were outdoors with no shirt, or I was outdoors with no shirt and no shoes on. And it was 5 degrees outside in the rain.
Brandon Lee wanted to pursue acting, just like his father, legendary Bruce Lee, did, before he died when he was 32. Now, Brandon Lee had a few movies behind his belt, and was 28 when he was offered the role of Eric in The Crow.
And that's one of the wonderful things about playing this character is it's a real... You can really take the gloves off in playing this part because there are no rules about how a person who has come back from the dead is going to behave.
He was excited for the project and identified with the main character.
And I truly feel that if I were in the same situation, I would do the same thing.
On March 31, 1993, the production was nearing the end, and Brandon Lee was filming the important scene in which Eric and Shelley are killed by criminals. Actor Michael Massey was the criminal who shot Brandon Lee.
I mean, what happened to Brandon was a tragic accident.
And according to the New York Times, when Massey fired the gun, which was loaded with blanks, the gunpowder ignited and a fragment of a bullet hit Brandon. He died in a hospital after undergoing surgery. He was buried next to his father, Bruce Lee.
Meanwhile, in this Seattle cemetery, Brandon's tombstone alongside his father's, carrying a quote about learning to live, knowing death comes for us all.
And what's tragic is that Sophia Shinas, who played Shelley, later said that Lee didn't want to wear a flak jacket, a bulletproof vest, because it would affect how the scene looked in the film. And apparently he responded, "If it's my time to go, it's my time to go home." Now, the death was ruled an accident, so Massey wasn't charged, but he never got over it. He died in 2016.
The investigation uncovering a series of poor decisions and guilty parties. In fact, too much blame across too many people, leaving no way to directly charge anyone for Brandon's shooting.
In October 1993, Brandon Lee's mother settled a negligence lawsuit.
I would say I don't hate the industry. What really dismays me sometimes is that Brandon's accident happened because of a chain of negligent acts.
with proceeds going to her and Eliza Hutton, Lee's fiancée.
I know very clearly in my mind what happened on Brandon's set, and am totally disgusted by the amount of negligence that went on there.
They were supposed to get married after the Crow production finished. And the question was what to do with the movie. Because most of it was filmed, some remaining scenes were done with CGI and with Lee's stunt double, Chad Stahelski, now known for directing John Wick.
Other shots involved filming a scene with a body double for Lee, and later mapping the actor's face onto the double's body.
Eventually, The Crow was released on May 13th, 1994, making almost $50 million on a $23 million budget. But the story of The Crow's curse doesn't end here. James O'Barr created the original comic on which the movie was based because of his grief after his fiancée died in a car accident.
We were engaged and we were supposed to be married after we graduated, and she was killed by a drunk driver.
He used The Crow as an outlet for his raw emotions, working on it on and off for years, saying that he never even thought of selling it.
You know, all the projects that I've done, have been like a real personal statement for me.
He wrote it for himself. And after Brandon Lee died on the set, O'Barr was struck with a déjà vu and said that, quote, feelings of guilt and responsibility were enormous. It was like the story was coming to life and death. Allegedly, he said that if he had known that Lee would die, he would have never written The Crow. The similarities between the protagonist and Brandon Lee's death were too big to avoid, and people started talking about a curse. One was called the Lee family curse, as both Bruce Lee and Brandon Lee died young and suddenly. Bruce Lee's mother was superstitious and believed that evil spirits were targeting men in her family, as apparently her other son also died as a baby, and now two successful men in their prime were also dead. So speculation and conspiracy theories started. And I remember when I was a child, I was back in Poland, my dad telling me that Bruce Lee was killed by the touch of Dim Mak, the fist of death. Because he was revealing too many martial arts secrets in his movies.
Now you put water into a cup, it becomes the cup. You put water into a bottle, it becomes the bottle. You put it in a teapot, it becomes the teapot.
And apparently, when Brad Pitt partied with Brandon Lee in early 90s, Lee told him that he was fearful of an early death like his father's. And that was 1 year before The Crow.
The only time that the circumstances surrounding my father's death are ever a hassle is when people who continue to perpetuate this myth that something untoward happened come and bother me about it.
Another side of the curse was The Crow itself. People started believing that it wasn't just the Lee family, as the story itself carried bad luck. Apparently, one of the sculptors went mad, got in a car and drove through the studio's plaster workshop. Then a construction worker slipped on a step and fell on a screwdriver that went through his hand. There was a drive-by shooting near the Crow filming, and the alleged shooter was stopped by the set barriers. One of the equipment trucks caught fire in mysterious circumstances, and a publicist got into a car crash. And because of long hours and fatigue, the crew would pop in and out of the toilets to do lines between the scenes. So, curse or not, it was full on. But it wasn't just a movie that carried the curse. It seemed that other projects connected to the story were also affected. The Crow Stairway to Heaven was a TV series that debuted in 1998.
People once believed that when someone dies, a crow carries their soul to the land of the dead.
During episode 7, when they were filming an explosion, an accident happened, and stuntman Mark Ackerstream was hit by debris, suffered a head injury, and was killed. The tragedy was that he wasn't even involved in this particular stunt. The show was cancelled after the first season and 22 episodes. Sequels like City of Angels, Salvation, and Wicked Prayer were terrible. There was a talk about a remake called 2037, directed by Rob Zombie. Jason Momoa, Bradley Cooper were set to play Eric. There were many other unmade side projects like The Bride, about the revenge story of a woman killed on her wedding day, or Lazarus Project starring DMX. But yeah, nothing came out of it. But we did get a 2024 remake with Bill Skarsgård. Which was a box office flop and got mediocre reviews from the audience. The original crew called it a cash grab and didn't want to see it. And it all added fuel to the theories that this story is best left alone.
Are you some kind of ghost?
Stahelski, who acted as his stunt double and later directed John Wick, said that the accident always stayed with him. And when filming John Wick movies, they take safety very seriously. Quote, "A lot of safety or the methodology we use came about because of that accident. It's retroactive, which sucks. It's like most fucking things in life. No one wants to change anything until something bad happens." And other actors commented about using guns on set.
Every single time I'm handed a gun on a set, they hand me a gun, I look at it, I open it, I show it to the person I'm pointing it to, we show it to the crew. It is because of what happened to Brand. Right. Everyone does it. Everybody knows.
Curse or no curse, over 30 years later, Brandon Lee lives in the story of The Crow, frozen in time, an immortal reminder of a tragedy that could have been avoided. Thanks for watching. If you want, you can like, subscribe, or comment, which will help us to make more videos like that. See ya.
It's more like surfing and skating. I wish the rain would stop just once.
Can't rain all the time.
Eric?